let's face it, the United States government has become the evil empire in the world. The United States government has become the great Satan that many have called it.
Everyone, Michael here. Today's video, I'm going to be telling you the truth behind this new America First movement and how it is deceiving you and based on a load of lies. Let's go. Okay, so recently in America, we have seen the split from MAGA to America First. Now, MAGA is obviously Trump's side and Trump movement, but recently it's been splintered into America First movement. So the America First is the likes of Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens. And they claim that Donald Trump is actually not working to make America great again. He is working to make Israel great again. And he is essentially a puppet of the Jews. This is their reasoning. And they claim that America First is really about putting the American people first and pushing back against the Jewish influence. Or not just Jewish influence, but they say the Jews control America and control Trump. But in reality, these people are not America First. They have Israel derangement syndrome because their policies are not about putting America first. Their policies are about hating Israel first. And let me prove it to you. As you've seen from the clip that I put at the beginning of the video, Nick Fuentes calling America the Great Satan. And this is obviously what the Ayatollah call America. They call Israel the small Satan, the little Satan, and America the Great Satan. And it's interesting that Iran are a self-proclaimed enemy of America. And when Donald Trump went and instructed the army or the military to bomb the nuclear sites, these America First people were outraged. And obviously the reason they were outraged is because Israel had big involvement in it. And their theology is, Trump only did this for the Jews. And at the time they were panicking, saying, I can guarantee America are going to send in ground troops. And we're going to get involved in like a war like Afghanistan and Iraq, and American troops are going to die. We're going to waste all this money. Turned out to be a load of rubbish. It was just a simple operation that did the job that was needed to be done. But I find it fascinating how these so-called America First were against something that was in America's interests. It wasn't like they were just doing something for Israel. They're actually doing something that did actually make common sense, that would benefit them. And that this is something that Trump's spoken about for years, saying that Iran can't have nuclear weapons. But around that time, I remember all of them simping for the Iranian regime. And they were coming out after going, oh, they didn't actually destroy Iran's nuclear facilities and we stand with the Ayatollah or some sort of nonsense like that. They were pushing Iranian propaganda. And I was thinking, hold on, you're supposed to be America first. But you can always say, well, because Israel played such a prominent role, this is their narrative and they're naturally going to be a bit skeptical. So let's move on to Venezuela. Venezuela has nothing to do with Israel. And Donald Trump instructed the military to go and capture Maduro. Very logical decision. Whether you agree with all the stuff of how it was done and all this, should it have been done, should it not? Ultimately, it is in America's interests to do that. 1, because the drug crisis. 2, because the oil. 3, because China and Russia have been moving a lot of interest and people over there to gain some sort of influence in the region. And America does not want that to happen. So there's plenty of logical reasons for America to do what they did. And in fairness, I think Nick Fuentes has come out recently and said that he supports the mission. But the likes of Tucker and Candace Owens have come out strongly condemning the mission. And unbelievably, Candace Owens actually believes that this was all for the Jews as well. But again, she has derangement syndrome. Everything is about the Jews. Iran, yes, you can make an argument. But now Venezuela was the Jews. Apparently, it was the Jews who killed Charlie Kirk. But this is just a sign of mental illness that Candace Owens has because of her recent conversion to a certain sect of Catholic faith that her husband holds, which believes that the Jews are essentially evil because they murdered Christ. And they reject the modern day Catholic view that that kind of interpretation was false and that there should be no persecution of modern day Jews. But in George Farmer and Candace Owens' sect of Catholic faith, they believe that the Jews and the curse upon all their children, as it says in the Bible, because they killed Jesus, they believe that's relevant, and this is why they have such an irrational hatred of the Jews, despite it all being a load of rubbish in the first place. It's all just dogmatic nonsense that makes no sense, and that ultimately Christ was here to bring spiritual truth. And all political dogma is just been made up by people, and you can see how the likes of Candace Owens falls for these made up theories. And then you also have Tucker Carlson, who's been simping for Islam. He said, oh no, I've never had a problem with any Muslims, and that it's un-American to criticize Islam, when he was at Turning Point's recent convention. When it's ironic that he was there at Turning Point's recent convention when, just before Charlie Kirk died, one of the main things he was pushing is about the fact that America needs to fight back and push Islam out of America. So talk about treacherous. And obviously he went and met Vladimir Putin and was simping over him a little bit. So we can see by evidence that these people are not America first. People who are simping after Islamists, other theocratic politicians and bunch of commies, these people are not America first. They're grifters first. And they will chase a bank now. Now, I think Nick Fuentes is an ideologue who has been brainwashed into believing about National Socialism. I believe Candace Owen is basically a complete and utter grifter and will go wherever the money takes her. She used to be a hardcore leftist, and then she realised the Trump movement was popular and she could make money out of being a black conservative. And then she realised that the sort of Groyper movement had a load of positivity or popularity. And then with the Islamic influence on the internet, with all the bots and stuff, she realised that it was popular to criticise the Jews. So she'll go wherever the money is. And Tucker Carlson, I think, is just slightly losing his mind. You know, he said he got attacked by a demon at night, despite the fact he was sleeping in bed with his dog. So I think it was probably a dog that scratched him and not a demon. And he's been a victim of a lot of propaganda from communist regimes, I think. And I want to finish the video with a very important point about, you need to realize if you're being propagandized. I've learned this over 15 years of waking up, and at first my discernment wasn't great and I fell for a lot of these theories, but now I've learned how the game works and I've become better. And in fairness to some of these people, maybe they've fallen for it in their early stages as well. But what you have to realize is there's a battle for superiority in the world, and Western civilization, the American empire, had control, and they're the main influence in the world. Obviously, America is the #1 country. And you've got Russia and China battling out for this superiority with BRICS. So BRICS is obviously, it's run mainly by China, Russia, but they're allied with a lot of wrong-uns like Iran, North Korea, and then you've got some neutral states that I don't think are good or bad, India and Brazil. But you also have nefarious government of South Africa. So BRICS are not a noble venture of people. They're a bunch of commies, essentially. And then you have the Islamic influence. You know, the Islamic Caliphate wants to take over the world. The Muslim Brotherhood, backed by huge money from probably Qatar, maybe Saudi Arabia, but it seems like Saudi Arabia and the UAE are actually moving towards more sensible policies. So I don't mind them too much. But Qatar have incredible amount of money and influence, and there's the Islamic agenda. So there's a lot of propaganda from the Soviet style Russians and the communist Chinese flooding our countries with TikToks and brain rot to all our youth. This is why our youth are so stupid, because they've, instead of doing hours and hours of research, they'll see a meme or watch a TikTok video and think that they know everything, but they don't know everything. They've been propagandized. And the Soviet Union, the KGB, the commies, they're the masters at psychological warfare. You know, Yuri Bezmenov warned about this, how to demoralize a nation. And this is how you end up with someone like Nick Fuentes calling his own nation the Great Satan. It's all about demoralizing the people and getting the people of the nation to work against their own interests. So when you have these sort of influencers criticizing America, standing up for their enemies, they're standing up for Iran, they're standing up for Venezuela, they're standing up for Russia, some are even standing up for China. These people have been subverted, make no mistake. And it's very interesting when you see the likes of Fuentes and all these others saying, we shouldn't be getting involved in wars, we should be isolationists. This is exactly what BRICS would want. They want America to retreat into themselves, don't get involved in anything, because it means that Russia and China can gain control over the world and become the new hegemony power. Think about it. That's their genius plan. Because Russia and China were involved in Venezuela. They want the Venezuelan oil. They want to gain influence that America had. And it would be perfect if America retreated and said, we're not getting involved in the rest of the world. And that's stupid and weak and pathetic. You don't want to be an isolationist if you want to be a superpower. You want to basically push your control and influence on the world, especially when America is a beacon of freedom in the world. You know, China is communist. Russia is theocratic/communist. The Islamic world bow down to Islam and the false god of Islam. And most Muslim countries are hellholes. So we don't want these people having global hegemony. No, we want people like America and the freedom-loving West to maintain hegemony over the world. You know, somebody has to have it, so it should be America and the West. And I believe that America, the Anglo nations such as Australia, Canada, and Europe should ally together. The Europeans should get rid of the EU and the commies and replace it with a freedom-loving, maybe a United States of Europe, to ally with America and the Anglo nations of Australia, New Zealand, Canada, as I mentioned. That should be the way forward. Freedom-loving peoples, but freedom to live under God's grace, not to chase our fleshly desires. And that's why the West has fallen. One of the reasons we've been subverted by these outside forces, but two, we've also fallen away from God. And it's the famous Bible quote, you're called to be free, but use your freedom to serve one another in love, not to pursue your fleshly desires and your sinful nature. So for us to overcome our problem, we don't need to listen to these phony influencers. We need to, one, first and foremost, return to God. And two, push back against this subversion with sensible, strong patriotism. Okay, so that's the point of my video today. I just want to make people aware that beware of these sort of weirdo influencers now pushing all this nonsense. It's a load of rubbish and they're deceivers and liars. Okay, that's the point of my video today. Please like the video if you like it. We need to hit the algorithm. I've realised that I don't like doing it, but I realise unless you like, and maybe comment if you can, give me your views. It will help hit the algorithm. If you're new and you like what I'm talking about, please subscribe. God bless everybody. Goodbye.